Well, they keep saying bring on the van, so I've dragged it out of the front shed, took the cover off it. I haven't seen it for probably 12 months. When I first got it, which goes back a couple of years ago now, I started, you know, planning what I was going to do and trying to make some decisions. I mixed up some colour with John, so it's going to be green like my old one. And the paint style is very similar to what is on BOSSXC, but it's green instead of blue. Body-wise, I've thought about chopping things and changing it. It's probably going to be relatively stock on the outside. I'm going to take the side windows out, make it fixed panel, and pretty much everything else I'm looking to almost restore the body. I'll definitely chop the bumpers, move the bumpers in. You know, the way we did BOSSXC looks so much nicer. Definitely leaving these on. And then down the side, it's a bit the same as, same really, the same as the Boss, because I'm going to run, I've been chasing new old stock parts, which I'll show you in a minute, but you know, door handles will stay with the black cap. I've got some wheels to go on it. We'll stick with the chrome around here. And I may just turn this around or do something with this light, I'm not sure yet. On the rear of it, my old van was a barn door one. This one's got the tailgate lift. So obviously that's what we're going to run. But I have just sat a wagon bumper on there. I picked that up and we'll run with that look, but it's going to need to be chopped a bit to make it sit nice, and I haven't made up my mind whether I'll use the ends off of the original bumperettes. So that's what they come with, and that fits really nice to the body. So I may look at, see whether I can chop this off, the end off, and put it onto the other bumper, because it'll have painted bumpers, so that won't be a problem. You can see the gearbox sitting there, so I'm going to stay with a single rail. So I'll walk you through all the parts in a minute, but we're pretty much going to be 351 single rail, and I'm sticking with the 8-inch Borg Warner rear end disc brake, and I won't go into a whole lot of stories about that. The tank sitting there, when I got the car home it was leaking fuel, so I managed to source that tank from a guy called Grumpy Dave on Facebook, and I've just cleaned it inside, made sure it's good, and sealed it up so it can go back in when we get it running. The particular car inside has got a full hood lining in it, and Heather and I have just been talking about whether we're going to go with an archway and put panels in it and maybe some cupboards if we're going to go away and travel in it, or whether we just run the, you know, the hood lining. So I've got to make some of those decisions as we get into the build. The car's quite unique. It comes from Nyngan, out in country New South Wales. I bought it from the auctions in Sydney, but originally it was from Nyngan. And it's in very good condition in a lot of ways, but in some other ways not so much. It's only got 52,000 on the clock, and I've spoken to some of the family that was pretty much a one owner beside the guy that bought it and took it to the auction. It's sat under a tarp under a tree for a very long time, and for that reason it's got issues with the roof where it's sweated sitting under the tarp. So we'll strip that back and make a decision, and I've got to do obviously drip gutters all the way around, and I was thinking about removing the gutters, but they don't, I don't know, they look a little bit funny without them. So if I took them out, you might want to lower the roof, and then it starts to turn into a massive job. So I'll make that decision as I go along. That's pretty much all we need to look at out here. Trim wise, I'm going to run, you know, with the XC buckets, work out if we're going to have an archway with a walk through, then obviously you don't want to have a console. So I'll make some of those decisions, and it'll be a stock dash just like that. And this was a rally pack car, so it was a 302 rally pack aircon power steer car. So we'll just wander inside, and what I've done is I've dragged all of the parts out that I've had stuck away, and I've been collecting bits for a couple of years now. So we did put a few bits on the channel early on, and we'll go to the big baby first. So the engine has been built. So this is really made up from a whole lot of bits and pieces I've had sort of hanging around for a fair while. So it's the original block, the 302 block, but then I've put a 302 crank in it with a 351 crank with a 302 rod. with a specialist piston that takes you back to 351, but it makes it a 6-inch stroke. And it's a little bit old school, but I'm old, so that's okay. The heads are 2Vs, 4V valves, and they're all machined up to take guides and push rods. So we're going to run, it's just got single springs on there at the moment, because once we get it in the car, we'll need to run the cam in. And the cam is a Crow solid. And I grabbed the specs out. So it's a 21626, and it's pretty much, so it's a mechanical solid, which gives you that nice rattle, same as I had in the Mustang. With the roller rockers, there's no real issues with maintenance and adjustment, and it's a little bit like a phase 3 cam. So you're looking at advertised lift of 560 and 570 for those that are into all that sort of stuff. So just a nice lumpy sound, good mid-range. I may or may not run that manifold. I had that, and I'm looking at this type of stuff. These are, you know, the original Ford stuff, whether I stay with that and keep it looking really stock, which is what I've got in my head. I'm looking at, I'll put a picture up of a 69 Boss Mustang. That's pretty much the look that I'm going to run with. Header wise, I've got a really nice set of pacemakers there, and they came coated like that from Pacemaker in the black. Normally they're blue, but you can opt for the black. And I've gone with the tri-wise to make sure we generate some torque. And then I'll just run a nice system through with that. So that should make, it's got a 750 sitting there at the moment. I probably need to get that rebuilt. It's been kicking around for a while. That should make around the 400, 420 flywheel. And I'm comfortable with that because I'm running a single rail on the Borg Warner. I'm not looking to race it. I'm not looking to do burnouts. I just want a nice car that sounds nice with a bit of compression. So the rest of that is sort of sitting over here. So this car only having 50,000 Ks on it was quite interesting that it even had the original plug leads still on it. And I just started giving them a bit of cleanup, 12 months ago, because for someone that's restoring, like a Cobra or something, they are date specific original leads and cap off an XC or a late XB, and then all of these parts have all come off and nothing had been modified in that whole engine area. So I've rebuilt the original alternator. I'm going to rebuild the original Dizzy, and I'll put an electronic pickup in that. So all the parts are in there. I'll need to get my workshop manual out to get that back together because it's been a while. Been working along cleaning up all the different bits and pieces. The car's got a really good crash pad in it, but this one's just that little bit better that I happened to pick up when I was on a bit of a parts hunt. And then all of these parts, I've already started doing our CAD plate, and you'll see in all my other builds. So things like the original bracket for the coil are really hard to find the right one. And I've actually had that re-zinced in the silver like they were originally. So we get that super nice clean look with a bit of a blue tinge to it. And then most of these parts are either suspension or brakes. And then I've pulled all the brakes apart, and I've got new pistons, and then this little kit here comes with all of those sliders and all the bits and pieces to do those. So all of this just got put away when we got caught up doing the other cars. And then all of these parts, believe it or not, have been boxed up, and once they're kept out of the moisture, they haven't rusted. So most of this stuff I did with vinegar, cleaning vinegar. And now I'm going to run the original aircon. I'll probably look to put an original square compressor back on it. Probably get a new one of those. I've already had the steering box redone, the power steer. So as we move down the table, it's my little collection of XC wiper arms. I went to a swap meet one day and a guy had a heap there, so the little plastic. So all of those bits and pieces I've been collecting so that I make sure I've got enough bits. Washer bottle, the new Motorcraft leads. So these have been available forever, basically. So they're a direct replacement to these, but obviously they're millimetres now. So you see there it's a 7mm, where this one will actually be something else. So it's actually got the Motorcraft on it. So that's going to do me because I'm not chasing concourse. And then we move along the next table, got a new starter, got all new springs from Lovells. The leaf springs were already in the car, we put them in 12 months ago. And then all of the bushes and rubbers, all in the Lovells in their poly. New clutch, pressure plate. So I've just gone with XCD. It's like for a modified vehicle, but not too heavy, so Heather still should be able to drive the manual. And then I've just cleaned up bits and pieces that, there you go, the bag's Venom, so it must have probably come off of Venom because we changed it to a different one because it had a 6-speed in it. We've got Bilsteins going on all the way around. Tail shaft's all been cleaned up. It's got new unis to go on it. So like I say, all of this was happening and then it stopped and I boxed it all up and put it away. Under the table is the radiator from a radiator guy and the original shroud. And I'll be running just an original fixed fan. I'm not going to go thermo. And then this table is more into the front. So these here, I'm pretty sure these come out on like a Mustang or something. I've seen them on eBay or somewhere. I love that look. It's the original shape, but it's got the chrome around it. It's just like a clip-on in some stainless. So I'm going to use those. And then a range of new old stock parts I've been picking up here and there. So I've got a full set of taillight lenses. People that know their XCs know that's the little bit that goes on your heater and controls all your vacuum. So I managed to pick that up. I don't know if I'm going to need it, but I scored that. Repo side markers, and these are original. These are a repo, and then these are the ones that will go on it because I like the colour better on these. So that's similar to what we used on the Boss. So it's just got that really nice deep amber with the nice chrome on it. So a set of those, and then there's a whole episode on me rebuilding the headlights. So all of this stuff's all sitting here waiting, all the rubbers, all of this stuff's all been re-zinced, and then lenses and also the backing, like the chrome part. And then they all obviously mount into these frames. And then I've picked up some new old stock surrounds that fit into the grille. And all I've got to do now, it's a really good grille, it's got a couple of little cracks in it here and there, but I've got to fix this dent. So on the Boss we sent it out, but I might actually have a little go. I've got another grille that's not as good as that one that I might have an experiment on. That's the console out of the car. And then these bits here, obviously the dash is still in the car, but over the years having done all these different XCs, these are all my leftovers. And these ones have had nothing done to them. These parts over here have actually been cleaned up and restored. And I'll make a decision on getting the best ones to be able to do the job. Going to run a bubble window, so I've already organised that. And that's from this retro Aussie bubble windows. I'm sure someone will ask, so that's a Facebook find. And then the rubbers there are all the tailgate rubbers, which aren't readily available. There's a company over in Western Australia, Rare Parts. They're also a Rare Spares distributor as well, but they make these themselves. And that gives me all my rubbers to do the tailgate, and then I'll work out a list for Rares to do all the Rare Spares. So that's all the bits. The car's out there. Now I just got to sit down and do my plan. Oh, the wheel, Louise. So I bought these some time back, and I've been thinking about that I may or may not use them, but dragging it out today, and I bought the nice new tyres, the Dunlop Sports for it. I reckon I will use them, but they won't look like that when I'm done. So I'll paint the centres up and make them look more like the old Torque Thrust. And I might even machine a matte finish on here yet. I haven't made up my mind what I'm going to do, but they won't look exactly like that. But I've got, they're 18s, 18.8s, 18.9s with a 255, I think, by memory. 275, 45 on the back. So plenty of rubber, get that nice look about it, and we'll get it sitting down. Externally the car will be very much like my old one, so it'll have a Cobra front spoiler, Cobra bonnet scoop chopped down. I don't know what's available. I used to have grey bubble covers and all on the lights, but we'll just see how that goes. And start working out whether I can make the time and the money to put it all together. No timelines on this one, but it'd be really cool to have it done by the end of the year. So stay tuned. As I'm doing things, we'll put something up on the channel, but I'm not going to commit at this stage to actually having a series, but you will, when I'm doing something, you'll get to see it. So thanks for joining us, and we'll be back again next week with the next build series, and then we should have some information then on what's happening with BOSSXC with our plans for Motor X in May. So thanks for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe, click the like button. I'm sure there'll be some questions about the van and I'll do my best to answer those for you. And thanks for joining us again.